The CGA Tour, a podcast unlike any other. Now your host, Calvin Alexander.
Hello and welcome back to the latest episode of the CGA Tour podcast. As always, here I'm your host, Calvin Glen Alexander. And on tonight's episode of the podcast, I'm joined by former Oklahoma State basketball great here, Mitchell Solomon, who's able to join. Mitchell, how's it going?
It's going well. I did what I don't know if I deserve to be a great, but appreciate the intro.
Well, you got the earned honorable mentioned all Big 12 conference honors from the AP, second team all academic, all Big 12. Mike Boynton praised you as the team's MVP. And so those are just some of the couple things here from your senior year that was mentioned. So I had to give you props where it's due for sure. I mean, you have the most memorable Bedlam basketball moment in my lifetime, diving on the court and out hustling Trae Young. So I think there's definitely some positive things there for sure.
Yeah, that'll be my claim to fame for sure.
Just a little bit, but I'm always going to remember the year that same year sweeping KU, and Larry Reese telling everyone on senior day how sweep it is. So it was a great year there, and of course, great Oklahoma State basketball season. But want to catch up with you a little bit here, so we're up to now, and then of course ask you about your kind of favorite basketball memories and favorite memories up at OSU. So I'll ask you to start out with what's, as far as on the court, off the court, wherever you want to start here. What's kind of one of your best favorite moments or a memory that stands out to you from playing for Oklahoma State?
Yeah, so the dive has to be one of them, obviously. Winning senior day, like you mentioned, against Kansas, that was pretty special. Kind of an underrated one. We won at West Virginia my junior year. That's a tough place to play. And then, belting some country roads in the locker room after you beat West Virginia feels pretty good. That one is like a core memory for me, for sure. Some of the Midnight Madness, those kind of things for homecoming, those were always so fun. But yeah, that's a few of my favorite on-court memories.
Yeah, for sure. Were you trying to basically play country roads as loud as possible, making sure West Virginia guys could hear you guys in the company locker room?
Yeah. Played it in the locker room, played it on the bus, played it on the plane.
I wonder was there any memorable song kind of from that year that you guys were playing more after you kind of beat KU each time or anything like that?
Not that I really remember. We were always playing something though. The locker room was always bumping, but I don't know if there was really one song in particular.
I remember in the arena at least trying to get a bunch of, I think it was Drake and Future's album that time. Big Rings and all type of stuff was playing a bunch, and Jumpman and Big Rings, all type of stuff here. But as far as memories go for kind of off the court stuff here, what stands out to you most?
Yeah, I was trying to think about that, and so much of my college career was on court. I was trying to figure out what my off the court memories were. I told my wife I'd plug that I met her off the court.
Well, that's a great memory for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But, as far as kind of student memories go, Calf Fry was always so fun. I'm a big country music fan. So the parties in the parking lot before and then going in and listening to the country music, that was always a highlight for me. Something specific, and it happened to be West Virginia also, but a football game. I don't know why it was such a big deal, but it ended up being like really cold. I don't know if West Virginia was really good. I think it was my fifth year, so it would have been 2019. But we stayed for whatever reason. We decided to stay the whole game, and it ended up being 15 degrees, and me and all my buddies had like quarter zips on, and we stuck it out. There may have been a few alcoholic beverages involved to help keep us warm. And then we ended up winning. I think we weren't supposed to win. And so I don't know if we really call it a field storming, but there were a bunch of people that went onto the field after the game, and that was pretty cool.
That's got to be. I mean, as far as like attending other sporting events, were you guys mixing up with a couple of the other, athletes, just kind of invariably like see them just around campus, around the dorms or whatever as well, where you kind of at least you knew each other?
Yeah, definitely. Well, for one, my wife is a softball player. She played softball for 2 years while we were playing. Football guys, we were always close. We'd see each other at training table and in the academic center. We'd end up inevitably running into each other Friday and Saturday nights thing. So yeah, it's a pretty tight knit community.
All right. Well, I got to ask you, of course, about, comparatively, there's so many great spots to eat in Stillwater, whether it be Joe's or Hideaway or, a Dirty Curdy, late night as well too. Was there any favorite place you had to go grab something to eat?
Yeah. So Dirty Curdy's definitely a staple of Stillwater. And I had my fair share 2 a.m. But I tried to think of some that are maybe a little more out of the box. So Buffalo Wild Wings was one of the only places that we could go eat after games with my family because they were the only ones that stayed open past 10:30. So I ended up inevitably eating a lot of Buffalo Wild Wings while I was in Stillwater. And then my 5th year, L-Tap was a big one for us. Me and my buddies would pregame at L-Tap and we'd get a pitcher of margarita. We'd all get the different flavors and, mix and match. And that was kind of our pregame party spot. So those are 2 that I frequented often.
Yeah, it was B-dubs a little bit easier just because you may not have been recognized as many times, close to like going out to Hideaway right after a game or at Joe's right after a game. Is it kind of a little bit part of it too?
Yeah, definitely. That was definitely part of it. It's darker atmosphere in there. It's kind of hard being 6'9" to blend in anywhere, but yeah, that was definitely part of it.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. I know I spent quite too many times there at Joe's or Hideaway and probably should have been if I got into B-dubs, probably wouldn't have gotten a little bit more out of hand. So that sounds like a good deal for sure. I definitely understand it there. Reading through your list of accomplishments for Oklahoma State here and stuff, was there a memorable kind of coaching moment or memorable kind of shot one of the other guys on the team made or something like that you were just really impressed by, or anything kind of behind the scenes, whether it be practices and stuff like that really stuck out to you?
I think one that kind of goes unnoticed because of the dive is the 3 that Kendall Smith hit in that same game right at the end of the game to send it to overtime. So the dive kind of got the momentum going, but had Kendall not hit that 3, the game would have been over and we wouldn't have even been able to, go on to win it in overtime. So I think that gets overshadowed. I'm trying to think another. I don't know. I was never really one to be outspoken. I kind of just led through actions. So I don't really have, the coaching moments. I would say, there's plenty of locker room talks and late nights, helping young guys or whatever, motivating everybody, keeping the teams together. But yeah, I think that Kendall's 3, that same Bedlam game deserves more credit than it gets.
All right. And then I got to ask you a Lindy Waters question here. Did you ever think that, between all the guys on the team, were you thinking, hey, you know what, he's the guy who's going to make it to the NBA and kind of make a name? Or do you ever kind of think it might be Kendall or somebody else?
What's so funny, everyone would always ask me that when I was playing, and Lindy was never one of my first answers. He was always up there and he always had the work ethic. That was never a question. But he just developed later, I would say. He kind of blossomed, grew into himself later in his college career. So it kind of, I think, took everyone by surprise. One guy that I always expected and he's still, chasing that dream, was Cameron Griff. I think he is just like a physical specimen. He was always a challenge, practicing against every day. He has, maybe the hardest working mentality of anyone I ever played with, always in the gym. So I'll be surprised if he's not on. And I think he has played a few games in the NBA, like on 2 ways or 10 days or whatever, but I'll be surprised if he's not a fixture in the league with over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I got to say that's the one that, as a very casual fan, surprised me the most. That just that Cam McGriff didn't make it to somewhere and didn't stand out. I mean, just the physical aspect of the guys. Where I've got a brother on campus right now who's like 20, and then seeing, I mean, just the fact that we're all like genetically kind of the same guys, but there's just so much more effort put into the weight room, and you guys as well too. Just, hey, when you want to be an athlete, there's just so much of a difference here in how it is. But also just seeing Cam McGriff, I'm like, that guy's the same age as me. This is crazy. I mean, just like, it just goes to show you how much effort you put into stuff, you really can get out of it. And I got to say, between all the guys on the team there, I thought, Cam or, I mean, maybe Desagua just able to shoot the three like no other, would be able to latch on a little bit, or Kendall Smith. But yeah, when it comes to, I guess, your time in Stillwater, wraps up and stuff like that, well, what are you up to now?
Me and my wife have been busy the last 9 months with our new daughter. That has been a drastic change of pace. We were kind of long distance, sort of. I was in Tulsa, she was in Stillwater, and then she was in Oklahoma City. And then we finally tied the knot a year and a half ago, roughly. And pretty shortly thereafter started a family. So that's been taking up our time. Lately, I work at a steel processing company here in Tulsa. It's sort of all out towards Sand Springs a little bit. I do a little bit of account management. I do a little bit of AutoCAD, SolidWorks, that kind of thing. So that's pretty boring. The exciting stuff is chasing the daughter around the house. She's just starting to kind of walk assisted. She's not walking on her own yet, but she's crawling all over the place, climbing upstairs, climbing all over us. So that's what's been taking up a lot of my time lately.
Well, I'd be amiss to say, not to say congratulations on the newborn. That's wonderful. And of course, everything is successful in life as well too. I will say, as a mechanical engineering major at OSU, I knew several friends who were mechanical engineering majors, and they were spending their time much differently than I was as a sports management major. They were definitely like, in Edmond Low or studying late, or at least that's what they were telling me. Props to you, got to say, on doing both, not just doing that, but also being a full-time athlete for Oklahoma State. How did you juggle both of those?
Yeah, it was a blessing in disguise that I wasn't able to take some of the classes while an athlete. Everyone would probably think, oh man, you have to come back and go to school. But honestly, my 5th year coming back to finish classes was, a blast. So I don't regret that at all. It's kind of hard. There's not a whole lot of engineering in athletics. So there's not a whole lot of support within the academic center. So a lot of my tutoring or studying or homework or whatever, I had to find classmates. And I had a group of guys that I ended up having a lot of classes with, because you kind of follow the same linear path when it comes to that kind of program. And they were awesome. They thought it was so cool that I played basketball, and they were willing to help me and meet. So that was pretty fun. But I've always been kind of a math nerd. I was always wanting to be in class. I never had a problem going to class. So, it wasn't as hard as it was a lot of, I have to give a lot shout out to my support.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, from your from your experience growing up and stuff like that, did you ever think, hey, you know what, I'm going to be, a 4-year player for Oklahoma State athletics and, going to OSU? Was there a decision where you said, hey, one day no matter what, I'm going to OSU? Or I know, but yeah, I'm reading your OSU bio here. Both of my parents went to OSU, so that was where I was going from birth. Were you in the same boat?
It's kind of funny. I was always just kind of in the moment growing up. I didn't really have like a big goal of playing college sports. I think that probably like you, there was a lot of OSU sports, played in the house growing up. So I watched a lot of that. It was I was kind of indoctrinated to be a Pope. But as far as the sports thing, I just kind of wanted to be the best that I could be. I wasn't going to the gym, after practice with my dad because I wanted to go play in college. I just wanted to be the best that I could be. And honestly, there wasn't even that idea because I didn't even get an offer until after my junior year of high school. So I was just playing basketball because I love to play basketball and working on my game just because I just loved it. Obviously the offers kind of came rolling in after that. I had a really good summer. I came to a basketball camp here in Stillwater, kind of a individual camp that kind of put me on the radar, and then played well in like AAU travel ball. But it was, I don't know, a lot of people, have this dream of playing in college, and I just didn't really have that. I just wanted to play basketball every day, 24/7 growing up. And that kind of led to being, that and being 6'9" led to being a pretty good basketball player.
Yeah. Well, now are you still, maybe going down to the YMCA once every so often and kind of showing guys up a little bit here and there, or you getting any runs in lately?
Yeah. So for, I don't know, at least 3 years after I was done, I had some buddies that played in like a Sunday afternoon. I think the league is actually called like Get Off Your Couch League or something here in Tulsa, something along those lines. And they always asked me to play. And I was like, I don't know, I had surgery on my ankle and I had some shots in my knees to fix everything once I was done playing. So I was like, I don't want to go, play some basketball, joke basketball and get hurt and mess up the progress that I'd made, all the healing and stuff I'd done. But that lasted about 3 years. And then it finally wore on me and I started playing with them. And it's mostly just for fun. I got the competitive spirit out of me plenty in Stillwater. So most of the playing I do now is cardio and an excuse to hang out with some friends. So I tried to kind of play, I don't know, I wouldn't say play down to the level of competition, but I don't want to, because I have friends on this team that don't really even know how to dribble a basketball. So, we're in a lower level league. And so I don't want to just take over because that wouldn't be fun for my team. That wouldn't be fun for the other team. And so sometimes I'll flash a little something here or there if we're losing big or if we're up big or something. And then in the games, it doesn't matter. But for me now, it's mostly don't get hurt, have fun with friends, get some cardio in.
Yeah, I think I could share a similar story of I coach middle school basketball and I'm 6'3", and I've never played center or forward ever in my life. But yeah, I'm not trying to score on a kid who's a foot shorter than me. I'm definitely trying to pass it a little bit and see what other kids can do when there's an odd number and I got to jump in. So no, that makes a ton of sense there for sure. I kind of last couple questions here. What do you think about the Oklahoma State basketball program right now?
I'm really excited. Our daughter was born in September. And so I unfortunately didn't make it to any games this past year. I love the alumni weekend and I want to go every year. I hope we keep doing that. But this year, it just so happened that our daughter got RSV the week before. So we were fighting a war here. But I don't know, I think I may have missed one game on TV. So I watched every game and I'm really excited. I think Lutz is really talented with the X's and O's. I think he has a lot of buy-in. I think I was, you could tell even, games, didn't matter what the score was, didn't matter what, the situation was. the guys played really hard, and I appreciate that. That was kind of, my ticket to success or part of it. And so I appreciate when guys play hard, even if you're down or if you're up, it's easy to let off the gas. And I don't think that they did that this year. So I think started to lay the foundation, and I'm pretty excited to watch them continue this and then hopefully get up to Stillwater a couple more times this year to see some games in person.
Yeah, I totally agree there. The last question I have for you here is, who's your favorite player Oklahoma State wise, and favorite player all time? Just kind of watch play if it's not on Oklahoma State's.
So favorite player in Oklahoma State. I probably suffer a little bit from recency bias, but on my visit to my official visit, I visited a couple times, but on my official visit, Markel Brown had like a 360, had some crazy alley-oop. He was just jumping out of the gym, and so he was always so fun to watch. He was just a highlight reel at any second. So he was always really fun to watch. Big country, big white guy. How can you not love him? How can, to be even, I'm not in the same conversation as him, but maybe close. Even that is an honor, So that's, those are a couple that hold a place in my heart in Oklahoma State. Or, I started, 41 is kind of an odd number. And it comes from my cousin who played linebacker at TU. That's where it started. But then as I took the basketball route, kind of growing up, middle school, early high school was like Dirk's prime. And so it kind of stuck. The 41 wasn't changing after I got to watch him. So he's probably my favorite player of all time. Watching him go on that run, I think I was at an overnight camp. I don't know if it was an OSU camp, overnight camp, or I went to a lot of Oral Roberts camps, obviously being from Tulsa, but it was at an Oral Roberts camp, and everyone was huddled in the lounge watching the TV and watching Dirk and take on the Heat. That was something I'll never forget.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, that's got to be such a great moment. Yeah, sorry, so you a Mavs fan or a Thunder fan, or just kind of cheering NBA?
I was a Mavs fan. I guess I say Mavs fan. I was a Dirk fan, but now I'm pretty diehard Thunder. Sometimes to my wife's displeasure, because if there's a game on, I'm figuring out how to watch it. Whether I got to download some, Bally got bought by FanDuel, and so you got to log into this app now, and I'm a pretty big Thunder fan. Have been for a while. A funny story about my Thunder fandom is me and my buddies were drinking at, I think, Bricktown Brewery here in Tulsa. We had a couple beers, and one of my buddies is from Texas, and he was talking smack on the Thunder, and this was like 2021. Like, I want to say Poku was in the starting lineup, and he made a bet that, or he told me that the Thunder would leave Oklahoma City before they won a championship. And 4 years ago, not just last year, 4 years ago, I was like, I believe in Sam Presti. I believe in the organization, in the city. And so now nothing is done yet, but hopefully that comes to fruition. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see for sure. Yeah, I would have definitely taken that bet at the time too. On your side of it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way the Thunder are leaving Oklahoma anytime soon after the new arena and stuff like that. What one would think, at least. I don't want to jinx it, of course. So, hey Mitchell, thanks so much for joining here on the episode of CGA Tour. Shout out to Zach Harris. I'll have his information linked below for hooking us up here and being a mutual friend to big Thunder guy himself there, and former Oklahoma State guy, just like myself. And fun fact for me, I was the announcer for softball for a couple years in college, the public address announcer. So hopefully I didn't announce your wife's name incorrectly all the time. I know when Gajewski got there, he kind of was like, after 1 year, he was like, there's a student up there. Can we get a full-time guy who's not trying to rush from class over to do the announcing? So, I did 1 year with Gajewski, and of course, he's just done such a great job with the program. It's incredible. But Mitchell, thanks so much for
if you don't need to go, we start. I sort of started. Me and some friends sort of started the outfield deal.
Yeah,
we were in the first year where we were pulling our trucks up and setting lawn chairs up in the bed of our trucks in the outfield for softball games. That was a lot of fun. They were kind of not allowed to have alcohol out there, so we kind of just, hopefully I'm not getting anyone in trouble, but we kind of said, don't ask, don't tell, poured into a cup, and no one will bother you. And so we sat out in the outfield in the bed of our trucks, and we were kind of the start of, or part of the start of the outfield that it is today.
Yeah, that's too funny. Yeah, I know a couple of those guys out there. I'm not going to mention their last names just for saving, but Matt Copen and Keith were all guys out there. Vanessa's husband. That was when I was doing a bunch of Oklahoma State stuff and really interning. Matt was the guy at the court, and I was the guy trying to load the t-shirt cannon. Yeah, a bunch of times.
Those guys, as a player, they kind of come off pretty aggressive. But the more time you spend around them, the more infectious their energy is, and the more you want to be around it. So those are good guys.
Yeah, those are great guys for sure. All right, well, Mitchell, thanks so much here for joining. Really appreciate the time here tonight, and go Pokes as always. We'll have to catch up with you soon whenever we figure out how to work all the NBA contracts so it's easier to watch games or whatever may be. And hopefully I'll see you here in Stillwater before too long. I'm the Oklahoma City to Stillwater daily commuter, so hopefully I'll see you at some point. Yeah, it's a drive, but I know you're well aware. So thanks so much here, and catch everyone soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out Zach.
Shout out Zach Harris.